It was the first jet combat aircraft to enter service in the world. The Messerschmitt 262 was one of the most advanced designs in operational use during World War II. Interestingly, the design work began before World War II started. But the numerous issues with such a radical design as its engines kept the aircraft out of operational status with the Luftwaffe until mid-44. Too late to have a significant impact on the course of the war. A story that we will see in a new video from the World of Aviation Aeropedia. Several years before World War II, the Germans foresaw the great potential of aircraft that used a jet engine. It should be clarified that, contrary to popular belief, the Me-12-2, it was not the first jet plane to fly, it was the first to enter active service. The first jet plane that we could consider was the Coanda from the year 1910, designed in Romania, and many years later, the Heinkel G178, which flew for the first time in August of '39, just a few days before the Second World War broke out. And another was the Heinkel G2-180, which flew for the first time in 1942, and with which the Me-262 shares many characteristics. The project had originated as a request from the Ministry of Aviation for a jet plane capable of enduring an hour at a speed of at least 850 km per hour. Something incredible for the time. When the design was presented in June of 1939, the construction of a prototype was greatly delayed. And this because of technical problems related to the new jet engine. Initially, this early model had the engines at the wing roots attached to the fuselage, but it was decided to move them to capsules or gondolas beneath the wings. This allowed them to be changed and maintained more easily, as it was unclear whether these engines would be very reliable. The airplane made its first successful flight, completely jet-propelled, on July 18, 1942, powered by a pair of Smoke 4 engines after an attempt a year earlier of a failed flight with BMW engines 003. One of the main problems with these new engines arose from the lack of an alloy with a melting point high enough to withstand the temperatures involved. A problem that by the end of the war had still not been adequately resolved. They had dubbed it Schwalbe, which means swallow in German. In the middle of 1943, the High Commands envisioned the 262 as a bomber and ground attack aircraft rather than a defensive interceptor. The configuration of a Schnellbomber with light load and high speed, that is, a fast bomber, was intended to penetrate enemy airspace during the expected invasion, allied with France. The initial test flights demonstrated the ease with which this aircraft could be flown. The test pilots indicated that any pilot of a Bf-109 could transition to the Me-262 with just an hour of instruction. It was a twin-engine jet fighter bomber design. It had a maximum takeoff weight of 730 kilograms and had a range of 1,050 kilometers with the internal fuel tanks. Its maximum speed was 900 kilometers per hour, and it had the capability to carry up to two 500-kilogram bombs and 4 30mm cannons, depending on the version. The Me-262 is often known as a swept-wing design, as the production aircraft had a small but significant leading-edge sweep of 18.5 degrees, which probably provided an advantage by increasing the critical Mach number. The sweep, uncommon at that time, was added after the initial design of the aircraft. The engines turned out to be heavier than originally expected. and this sweep was added mainly to place the center of lift correctly in relation to the center of mass. On April 19th of 1944, the first test unit was formed to introduce the Me-262 into service. During March of 45, the combat units of the Me-262 were able to carry out large-scale attacks against Allied bomber formations for the first time. 37,262 intercepted a force of 1,221 bombers and 632 escort houses. They shot down 12 bombers and a fighter for the loss of 3 Me-262. This plane was so fast that the German pilots needed new tactics to attack the Allied bombers. In their frontal attack, the combined speed was so fast that they could not shoot accurately, so they had to completely change the tactics. There were versions equipped with up to 24 rockets. Are 4 million miles with folding fins to make use of these. They approached from the side of a bomber formation where their silhouettes were larger, and from a distance beyond the range of the defensive machine guns, these rockets were fired, even though this side attack tactic was effective. It came too late to have a real effect on the wall, and only a small number of Me-262 were equipped with rocket packs. The 262 was difficult to counter because its high speed and rate of climb made it difficult to intercept. However, as with other jet engines, at the time these engines did not provide enough thrust at low speeds and the response to acceleration was slow. So under certain circumstances, such as takeoff and landing, the aircraft became a vulnerable target. About 1,400 planes were produced, but a maximum of 200 were operational at a time. According to some sources, 300 to 450 enemy aircraft were destroyed, and the Allies destroyed about 100 MEs. 12 minus 2. While Germany was heavily bombed. The production of the Me-262 was dispersed in low-profile production facilities, but one of the main engine production plants was bombed in March of 45. Large underground factories were then built, heavily protected, partially buried, for the production of jet engines. JUMO-004 to resume production of the Me-262 saved from the bomb attack. But the war ended shortly after the end of the war. The Me-1, 2, 2 and other advanced German technologies were quickly swept away by the Soviets, British and Americans as part of the operation. LUSTE, initials in English of Luftwaffe Secret Technology or Secret Technology of the Luftwaffe. The Czechoslovakian aerospace industry continued producing a variant called Avia S 92, which were in service until 51. It also significantly influenced designs like the Sukhoi Su-9 from 1946 and Japan's Nakashima Kika. Despite its shortcomings, this plane clearly marked the beginning of the end for piston-engined aircraft as effective war machines. Once in the air, it could accelerate to speeds over 850 km per hour, approximately 150 km faster than any house. Operational ally in the European Theatre of Operations. Until a new video. I'm Marcos and this is the World of Aviation's Aeropedia.